Warning, this podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. For my friends who are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Sweet romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. Oh, poor Seffi today.
Oh, no.
Oh, poor Seffi.
Oh, man.
Y'all, there are many things that I do to this poor human, and most of them are in the forums episodes with little to no warning or copious amounts of tattoo porn because now I know her preferences. I'm gonna go for that reaction. But today's episode is really inspired by a conversation that I have had multiple times, normally with men, and I feel like I want to turn it on its head. And so the theme of today's episode is romance novels, the myth of masturbation.
Yes. Yes, I love it so much. I had no idea what we were going to be talking about today, everybody.
Yeah. Now, all of y'all, by the time you got this, were like, yeah, Chase, that is the name of this episode. I'm not really surprised, but Seffi was.
Jace texted me and was like, I have an idea. Do you want to know the title or do you want it to be a surprise? And of course, I'm going to choose surprise.
Honestly, I love that for you because I'm the person that would be like, don't you dare surprise me. Do this to me. I can handle a surprise. I can't handle knowing there's a surprise.
Gotcha.
There are very clear boundaries with the people in my life, especially regarding holidays and presents, that if I am completely surprised, totally fine. If you even hint at what it's going to be, bitch, you better tell me now. It will not end well for you.
I feel like that's the same way with me and my best friend. Like we always tell each other, like, I got your birthday present, or I got your Christmas present. Do you want it now? Like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and it's sad because I'm also terrible at keeping secrets. So anytime I'm like, oh my gosh, your birthday's in 3 months. I bought your present. Now it's going to be amazing. And people in the are like, well, just give it to me now. And I'll say thank you again when the actual event occurs.
Oh man, that's funny.
Oh my gosh. If you're not yet at the age where friends have, registries for things in their life, like registries are fine because you buy the present and they get the present. You're like, did you get my present? It's amazing. Exactly. I bought you $20 washcloths,
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who are very confused by the title of this episode, there is this myth, especially from people who don't read romance. And I don't mean to generalize, but I'm going to generalize men, that romance novels are the equivalent of pornography and therefore just used as a spank bank.
Yeah.
Now, that is A, not true. B, not fair. C,
Mhm.
rude to erotica, which is its own genre and
Yeah.
kind of is there for the spank bank.
Yeah.
I will say that as romance and especially female-centered sexuality and accurate sex are being portrayed nowadays, the line is blurred. There are things that are, I mean, so close to erotica, but they do have a plot and story and things, or
Mhm.
they are entwined in a world that is more complex than just, oh, look, the pizza man is here. And so I'm not talking about erotica, things that are written to be erotic. I'm talking about romance novels.
Mhm.
And that's part one. Part one of this episode is let's debunk that myth.
There are parts. Listeners, I'm learning with you right now about what's going on today.
There are, if I can keep my tangents to a minimum. Okay, so so here's the thing. No one is going to start reading a slow burn romance that is 350 plus pages with the intention of getting off. Because usually, if you're in the mood to orgasm, you're not gonna wait the hours, potentially over days, that it will take you to get to the spicy bit. I read a book the other week, and I fuck you not, it took until 94% of the way through this book for these humans to kiss and get it on. There is no way that you are waiting 94% of a book if at page one you were like, man, I'm kind of horny. I'm feeling myself. I want to experience some sexual satisfaction in the near future, because it's not near.
No, it's not. It's really not.
It's not near. And for my audiobook friends, if you listen to audiobooks at speed, you're thinking 8 hours minimum, sometimes 13 hours for these books. And if you're listening to them at a faster speed, I don't know how you find it sexy.
Right?
That's me. That's and we've talked about audiobooks count as reading 100% of the time. No, that is not in question here. Let's just make that very, very clear. But if I am listening to something at 2 speed, I don't know if I'm getting the full sexual experience. Sensual experience. And I'm so glad that nowadays, when you speed things up, they don't get higher and higher pitched. The technology is there, so it stays in the same pitch.
So that's exactly what I was imagining, because I cannot do it at a faster speed because I'm terrified of that. One, but two, it just my brain.
Right? It does. I mean, the good ones don't.
Okay, good.
All right. So no one is reading a romance novel on the train to work because they're horny.
Yes.
It's just not happening.
No.
No one is sitting on, if you sit next to someone on the train and they are reading a romance novel, that is not your cue to offer up some sexual services for that human. That's not what they're there to do. That's not what they're looking for. They're not thinking, oh, if only someone were here to service me or recreate this scene I'm reading. It's not happening.
No. Not to mention, that's like harassment.
It's either a very aggressive come on, or depending on whether or not you respect the answer, no, harassment.
Yes.
So I want to debunk that myth straight away. And for you reading romance, like going, yay! Also, if you've ever gotten to a spicy scene in a romance novel and thought, Jesus fucking Christ, that's so hot, and in the privacy of your own home or in some place where you are not going to get arrested for public indecency or lewdness or whatever the law states and wherever you are, have to go get your rocks off, that is okay too. If you
Absolutely.
have bookmarked spicy scenes in romance novels you've already read because you're going to use that as your spank bank and you read them when you want to get in the mood and get off, that is okay.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I would like to debunk and formally state that romance novels as a whole are not your titillation. They are
No.
so much more than that.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I love some spice in a romance novel.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been listening to episodes with me, that's not a surprise. Not a surprise. I like a little spice. But part of the reason the spice in a romance novel, it like hits you so good is because there is the story to back it up.
Yeah, 100%. You have that connection with the characters from that story, and therefore the spice just like makes it
The spice spices.
Yeah, the spices, yes.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with a book that is more spice than plot. That's fine. Sometimes the plot is the spice. I'm looking at you, Mary Gentry. I'm looking at you, Court of the Vampire Queen. I'm looking at you, The Naughty List. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there are also moments when spice deepens the connection between two characters. And the release of that scene isn't just an orgasm or 7, which I think is too many, but what the hell do I know? But it's because it brings these characters together in a new and visceral way.
I have a scene in my head right now that I'm thinking of as you were saying that, and it's the first time that Xaden and Violet get together in Fourth
Wing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love an enemies to lovers. The pretension finally break. Oh, it's cathartic. You're rooting for them. You want to cheer and throw a parade. And the spice is, oh my gosh. And then there are also books where the spice is terrible. Like the spice is just terrible. I just finished a book. I'm not going to name it right now because I'm still processing.
Oh no.
But there's just so much wrong with this book, but he penetrates her through fabric. He's like, oh God, yes, the face that Sephi is making at me is exactly the face that I made. And I'm like, I don't know if I can believe that you're enjoying this, because the idea of a dude wrapping his dick in a sheet and shoving it in me is not appealing.
No, it sounds like doing it just sounds super duper uncomfortable. And ow.
Right?
That's like I'm squirming because it just sounds painful.
I highlighted so many things in this book that are like, why is this?
Why is this?
Oh God. Okay. Some books, the spice is not spicing, and that is okay too. Let's establish we don't read romance novels just because we want to get our rocks off. We don't love the sex in romance novels just because it's sexy. We love the sex in romance novels because it is an extension of the story that we are reading, regardless if the book is a spice level 1 or a spice level 5. There are books with a spice level 1, which means one scene, maybe lightly described. Okay, I'm going to go with two. There might be one scene very well described that knock my fucking socks off. Yeah. Every single time. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I want to, like, waterfalls.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And that is okay. Which takes me to part 2 of this episode. I was actually really close. So we didn't tangent that bad.
No.
Let's not be ashamed about using romance novels for our spank bank. I want to talk about masturbating. I do. I want to talk about it. If you still believe that you're going to go blind,
Oh, God.
science has proven you wrong.
Yeah.
If you think that you're going to grow hair on your hand, science has proven you wrong. My hand is as smooth as a baby's bottom. Not a
I can
hair to be
attest.
seen.
I can attest.
I don't know why I felt the need to show you.
I don't either. The funny thing is I almost did it back. So
all y'all, masturbating, totally fucking normal.
yes.
Totally fucking normal. Nothing to be ashamed of. And especially because we're talking in this instance about how you can use romance novels to masturbate and get to know your own body and your own sexual preferences better. I'm seriously taking all of it. If you and your partner have a no masturbation rule for whatever reason whatsoever, this conversation is obviously not for you, but that is within the bounds of your relationship. You're not allowed to. I'm talking about people for whom masturbation is totally fair game. They want to, they like to. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to primarily be speaking about vulvas. Not that there aren't women who have penises or who aren't intersexed. Absolutely there are, but I have a vulva.
Yeah.
And I can only speak to the experience of using toys and things to explore a vulva. If someone wants to come on here and share a different experience, y'all, I welcome you, please.
Absolutely.
Email me at jace@jacereadsromance.com, please. If y'all remember, way back in June, we talked about the clit. Yay! And that is primarily where women are having orgasms from clit stimulation alone or through some sort of dual thing that involves clit stimulation. Rarely, if ever, is it penetration alone that gets you off and therefore gets you going. So there we go. There's also a wide spectrum of what does it take to get you in the mood. I've been listening to an audiobook, Curvy Girl Summer, I finished, by Danielle Allen. And Aaliyah has a 30-minute routine.
Whoa.
I know. To like feel herself. It involves a bath. It involves pampering. It involves like thinking about it and imagining and like a whole fantasy. And like only then is she gonna get herself off. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I applaud her. She great job.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. But that doesn't that doesn't have to be the only thing that gets you there.
And it probably isn't. That's, I mean, you know, every person is very specific.
Do you have 30 minutes?
Right.
I'm like,
no.
Do I have 30 minutes to like sit in the bath and luxuriate and then moisturize,
Right?
which I should do, but I never do. And like
Never.
luxuriate and moisturize and like get in bed and feel yourself and like pick up the toy and think about. I was like, I can't believe you, but I hope I'm so proud of you. Like
Right?
who dedicates 30 minutes to their own like sensuality?
That's
Oh
it's
my
amazing.
God.
Like,
right?
I wish I could do that.
Honestly, I get bored. And there are, I'm like, I would be like, no, time. I wanted to get my rocks off like 25 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But again, this is me. This is nothing to do with you all. If you are someone who has 30 minutes and uses 30 minutes to go from, I think I want to get off tonight to I've just had my orgasm, maybe multiple orgasms. I can't believe you. I'm so jealous. Like, congratulations.
Right? Yeah.
But let's talk about how we can get off. What are the tools at our disposal, both in terms of actual stimulation and in terms of mental stimulation?
Yeah.
Which one should I do first?
I would say start with the mental, and then because the mental can usually
affect what's going on.
Exactly.
So sometimes you are by yourself, and not obviously, not obviously, please cut that out because it's not obvious or we wouldn't be having this conversation. Please make sure that whenever or wherever it is that you are engaging in self-love is a place that is appropriate. So
Yes.
your home by yourself, if your partner likes to watch you, if you like to engage in like masturbating next to each other. And that's actually the whole fucking thing. I just X that. If you're at home, if you're by yourself, if you're in a safe place that allows for this moment with yourself, where no one else is
Right.
going to see you, that shouldn't see you, that doesn't want to see you,
Mm-hmm.
that it would be illegal to see you. I'm going to assume in this scenario that we're building that you are at home, safe in your
Mm-hmm.
bed.
Yeah.
All right. Now, for some people, the idea of I want to get my rocks off leads to I'm going to stimulate myself and just get myself there,
Yeah.
which is totally fine. But also might not feel good. If you're like, hey, I'm going to put this vibrator on my absolutely I'm at zero clit, that might
Yeah.
not feel good.
No.
So, to get the juices flowing, blood to your clit, maybe lubrication in your vaginal canal, you might engage in some sort of mental stimulation. For some people, they're visual, they do watch porn. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I'm not going to knock that. I have been loving these sensual audio companies that are coming out. I believe
Yes.
Gypsy and Quinn are the two that I can
Yeah.
think of that have audios specifically for titillation. And believe
Mm-hmm.
you me, they're never more than like 15 minutes long. They're not 13
Yeah, they're
hours.
not. No. Uh-uh.
They're like
They're
7 minutes.
specifically designed to help
Yes.
you in this process. Yeah.
There is a ramp up and there is a taper down. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can't even wait for the ramp up, they do have a button, at least on Dipsy, it's the one I've used. Yes, I have. That takes you to when the spicy spice starts.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I will
That's
show you.
nice.
Didn't I give you my login? How did you not?
you
I'm like
you did, but I didn't.
offended.
I haven't checked it out yet.
I'm like
I'm.
really
We're
offended.
just gonna say this, and I love you, Michael.
We
I'm a
can cut it.
No, I don't care. I really don't. No, I'm saying I love you, Michael, because he's my little brother.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you about to
uh,
say you're a visual person and you just want
I'm
to
a
see
visual person. Yes.
we don't have to put that, but like, yeah, so it says like spice at 9 minutes and you can speed
Oh, and
up.
you can
I
skip
love it.
right to it.
Yeah,
That's
I love it.
amazing.
I think it's great. So there are audio companies who are recognizing that sensuality and also like number one, porn is for the male gaze. Two, women
Yeah.
are stimulated very differently in general, generally, not always. And that these little 10, 15-minute audios that focus on women's pleasure, experience, and connection are incredible. Something that I've noticed as I've had the app for a few months now is it used to be two narrators going through it together. And then, so it would be like
Oh,
him and her, or her and
yeah.
her, or him and her, or whatever it is. And there's this new category called whoever and you. And so instead of
Oh,
the dialogue, it's the person, the partner talking, and and usually just like moans at you or something like that. So you get to envision you.
oh, okay. I
I'm not
got
gonna lie,
you.
I hate it. I hate it so much. This is how I know I'm weird. I'm the weird one because every kind of season or whatever it was had maybe one or two at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice, good for you. And now there's many, so many of them. I'm like, I don't want that. Thank you very much. But so anyway, so there are these audios that are created specifically to stimulate. Even I believe they have guided masturbation audios, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
so cool. I think that
Those
is
are,
so fucking cool.
I believe, like those can also be called like almost like JOI.
Please enlighten me. What is that?
So JOI stands for jerk off instructions, or Jill off instructions, which is so stupid. But yeah.
I'm fucking dying. I'm fucking, I'm fucking dying, and I love it so much. Oh, yeah, it's called wellness. Try guided self-touch.
Yeah.
If Quinn wants to send me something that I can compare and contrast, I will let you know. Ooh, look, they even have like BDSM basics. Shit, man.
Oh, nice.
I haven't looked at this in a while. Oops. Exploring anal play. Oh my God. Okay. So
Tiger was in on this conversation. He keeps yelling at me.
you know what, Tiger? I don't blame you. I think this is fantastic. So we've got things that are designed specifically for titillation. If you're a visual person, you can look at porn. One of my favorite sites for porn, I'm just going to like shout them out, is Bellesa, because it's for women, for performers. I think it's some of the most fun.
Yeah.
But then you've got these audio. If you're not a visual person, it makes you uncomfortable because, don't get me wrong, I think the porniest of the porn is still cinematic. And they're still really hot. They're still really hot and skinny, and I'm like, my boobs, don't do that.
Same.
Anyway, my boobs and my hips don't do that. So,
right.
So then I want to talk about using not audiobooks. I want to talk about using romance novels. And if you're listening to an audiobook, absolutely bookmark your place in the audiobook. If you're using ebooks or something with a written word that you're physically reading, absolutely put a bookmark, highlight, star. Don't dog ear, but that's my personal opinion. You can dog ear your own book. Just don't do it to a library book.
No.
And pull it out. Now, even with those, I'm going to put all of the other kinds of titillation aside. With romance novels, it is rare that I will go back to a scene and not think of all that came before.
Yeah.
So even if I'm just here, oh my gosh, I can like remember viscerally this book. I still have this book. Like even if I'm just here for this one scene, I am feeling all the things that I felt when I read it in the context of the book.
Yeah.
So even if I'm just reading those however many pages to get me going, it's because I had pages and pages and pages of buildup that are going through my mind, that are releasing those endorphins, that are like sending all those feelings of tension. And maybe I'm at the sex scene, but I'm also going to remember that moment when they held hands for the first time, or she was about to fall and she was caught and pulled up against their body and they stared into each other's eyes with longing and passion, breathing each other's breath. And you're like, God damn it, just kiss already. And it doesn't happen. But like, you know, but I'm further along in the book and I'm at that story, but I'm remembering like that moment when like my boobs got tingly and like everything down south was like, is it time? And
yes.
So thank you. And so even if you're like, oh my gosh, I use romance novels as my spank bank, you're not using romance novels as the spank bank. You're using the whole fucking story. It's not those two to 5, maybe 10 if you're lucky, pages. It is the hundreds of pages that potentially came before. And so to try and reduce romance novels and the sex and the steam and the scenes in romance novels to pure masturbatory smut, whatever, is fucking insulting because, I'm reading those 2 pages to get off, but it's because the author had me hooked for 200.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you. Now, maybe you're reading so I want to So now that we've talked about like mentally, what are we going to use? Why are we using it? Maybe it's to turn our brain from whatever was going on in our life to something more sensual. Maybe it's because it doesn't feel good to start pleasuring yourself physically or like touch your genitals or any part of your body until there's a little bit more stimulation going on. And for so many people, men and women, we're going to talk about women, that seduction, even if it's yourself, you're seducing yourself, begins in the mind. So you're
Yeah.
getting yourself ready to experience sensuality. If you like to go right to your clit, no shame. You do you, friend.
Yeah.
I'm going to address and talk about alternative paths. In the show notes, I'm going to see if I can find this clip on YouTube. Did y'all watch Friends? Did you watch Friends?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what scene I'm talking about?
I am vaguely remembering something. I think so.
Yeah, where they're trying to teach erogenous zones, and Monica has a very
Yes.
funny scene. Yes, exactly. 7.
Yes.
If you go right for 7, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause and make sure that people who don't go straight for 7 are also included in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the ways that you can engage with your own body is light touch anywhere. Why am I showing you?
I'm not sure, but it's I'm loving the visuality on the audio medium.
No, I really put me on a fucking stage. I want to do this talk live. But to start with sensuality, put your hands on your own body. And I don't necessarily mean an erogenous zone necessarily. What does it feel like when you hold your own hands? What does it feel like when you tickle your fingers up and down the inside of your wrists or scratch your nails down your neck? What does it feel like when you run your hand down the sides of your thighs or the outside of your thighs and then the inside of your thighs? What
Mm-hmm.
does it take for you to start creating and experiencing and luxuriating in this touch? And once you're feeling comfortable or ready, and there are a lot of arousal symptoms that you may or may not experience, but if your breasts start to feel heavy and tingly or harden, you might feel like that's a place you want to go. If that's not something you like, or you have your own hangups about touching your erogenous zones or whatever the fuck it happens, because y'all, like, it matters to you, but it doesn't matter in the scope of things how you get yourself off.
Yeah.
What I hope this conversation allows you to do is find the path that works best for you without shame, without comparison at all.
Yeah.
If you're someone who loves nipple stimulation, maybe you do it with your hands, maybe you get a clamp, maybe you get a vibrator and you put it against your breasts. Like, there are
Mm-hmm.
so many ways that you can start to engage with your body that are not straight for the end goal or not even orgasm related. If you have a weird history with orgasms, maybe your goal of your masturbatory experience isn't climax, it's to feel good and to feel sensual. And that can be done in so many ways. Are you going to use other instruments to touch yourself? Like, yes, your nails, but like, the joke is always a feather. Is it going to be
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe there's a loofah? Maybe you take this to the shower and you're like, I want my most luxuriating body wash, and I rub this loofah all over myself because that's how I connect with my body physically. Oh, I love that. That just sounds so wonderful for you. And then you can also kind of like know that the rest of this conversation doesn't, you don't need to be a part of it if you don't want to climax. If you are looking for climax, for humans with a vulva, most orgasms happen with clit stimulation.
Yeah.
So make sure whatever you're doing involves that. I can't tell you how many books or porn or whatever I read that have a girl shoving fingers up her vagina.
And
And I'm
that's
like,
it?
kind of. Or it's that the first thing they do. They're like, I'm
Oh,
going to shove
no.
everything in there and then maybe rub a clit. You can, oh, if I haven't said this already, lube is also for masturbation.
Yes.
Lube is
100%.
also for masturbation. If it's clit stimulation, if it's penetration, whatever, everything is like more lube is never a bad thing.
Never. Nope. It just struck me as funny that that you did that and you're like, I'm just gonna take a sip of my drink and that's that.
I'm really thirsty.
It's just funny.
So lube is incredibly important. Make sure that you're using the correct kinds of lube, especially if you're going to involve toys. The toys that you use will have warnings on whether or not you're supposed to use water-based or silicone-based lube.
Yeah.
Those are the two primary kinds of lube.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using your own hand, your own body, it doesn't really matter. It's a personal preference, but certain toys will have directions on what type of lube you can use with them.
Yes. Also, just a little side note. Look at the directions on how to clean your toys because that's important too.
Oh, yeah. I know most toys say clean before use. Do you clean before use? I clean after use and then I put them away somewhere safe.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. So,
yeah. Cuz then they're technically clean before use cuz you've cleaned them. So
clean them. If they've been sitting in the drawer for a while, you might want to go rinse them off.
Right. Right.
It's like I'm just full of movie quotes today. In Someone Like You, when Ashley Judd pulls out a diaphragm that has clearly not been used because she blows on it and dust comes off, and I'm like, that's offensive. That's offensive because it was like that's not possible because it was in a case. Like you just did that to show how long it's been. Fuck you.
Right.
I'll see if I can share that link too.
Please do. That's funny.
If you enjoy putting your own fingers inside of your vagina, that is totally fine. There's nothing weird about that. Go to town. If you can reach around and stimulate your G-spot and you like that feeling and you can do that weird, like I'm going to use the heel of my hand action. Why am I showing you?
You would think Jace doesn't believe I actually do any of this.
I have to do it myself. I don't know why. I'm just like, I'm not teaching you, but I have to do it for myself. Like, if you enjoy like fingers inside of you and you can stimulate your clit with the heel of your hand, then more power to you. That is far more dexterous than I am.
Same here. I can't do that.
And also know that there are lots of different ways that you can touch your clitoris. Like you can go up and down, you can go side to side, you can go circle. Maybe you like to tease yourself. Maybe you like to edge yourself. If you don't know what edging is taking yourself almost to the point of orgasm and then backing off and cooling down and starting again on purpose, not because a partner just switches it up and you lose the orgasm. This is on purpose.
This is on purpose.
On purpose. So if you use your fingers to stimulate you with inside your vagina or your clit, amazing, wonderful, forearms galore. You should be in our forearms episode.
Yes.
So good old-fashioned fingers. There's nothing wrong with that. If you prefer to move your body, you know, there's a reason dry humping is a thing. If you want to put a pillow between your legs and rub up against that, and that is the way that you get yourself off, absolutely go to town. If you, I don't think they make sex toys specifically for that, but you know what?
Oh, they do actually.
To rub up against?
Yeah, they do. There's some secrets with Seffi. There's some people on TikTok that make like tentacle type things that have like a flat base that you can set down and then you can like straddle and rub against. Is
there something inside of you at the same time?
There can be, but they are designed where it's not necessary.
Okay, so it's really, that is niche, girl. That is niche.
I told you, Secrets of Seven.
Also, like, how the fuck did you find that side of TikTok? So now, before we move on to toys, I'm stating, I'm sure Seffi's going to agree with me. Things that aren't intended to go in your vagina or your ass should not go in your vagina or your ass.
100 fucking percent.
No matter how much a cucumber looks like a phallus, don't put it inside you.
Don't. Food is not made to go inside of you. That way. Like, consume it.
Not even
the
with a
normal
condom
way.
on it. Like,
No.
even if you put, no, don't do it.
No.
Don't do random inanimate objects. They are not the correct shape. They are not the correct material. They can fuck some shit up. They can fuck up the pH of your vagina. They can do damage to your vagina. They can do damage to your ass, your anal sphincter. Do not do it.
Yeah.
Only put
Don't
things in your body that are meant to go in your body.
There are stores, there are online websites that sell these things. Like, don't just grab a random thing off your shelf, please.
If you haven't listened to one of our episodes with Courtney, go to your local sex shop. They are
absolutely
there and excited to answer your question.
Yes, 100%.
If you are too embarrassed to go into a shop and you want an online retailer, I love Bellesa. I went through their advent calendar. Go back to May and June. Look at all the goodies I got.
Yes.
So
the horror stories. So I'm just gonna.
You works in a hospital, y'all.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can keep this in, but I work in a hospital. Please do not stick things inside you that are not meant to go there. Please. We all know that you didn't just fall on the shampoo bottle, y'all. Okay.
I can't even think of a shampoo bottle that has a shape I want to. What was you? No. Look, if you want to experiment with putting something weird and freaky looking inside of your body, they make ejaculating tentacles and naughty, like Omega versus naughty dildos. They exist. Go find them.
Yeah, they really do. Like with the knot and everything. Like
with the knot and it swells and it's up to you. So now that we've established you will only be using either your own body or a device meant to be used this way, let's talk about toys.
I'm a fan of toys.
I don't know anyone who has tried toys who is not a fan of toys.
Yeah.
All right. Now, clit stimulation is probably going to be where it's at for you with a vulva. Mm-hmm. So that's the one I'm going to save for last.
Okay.
Things that you might think of that I consider under the sex toy wing are nipple clamps. We mentioned those for some stimulation. There are people who can orgasm just from nipple stimulation.
I know.
Incredible.
That is incredible. I'm super impressed by those people.
Like, that's dedication. Wow. So
super sensitive nipples too.
Super sensitive nipples.
Yeah.
And then there's also anal play that you can do by yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, you might use just an anal plug, which then you better go fucking buy an anal plug, is designed to be inserted and stay there. That might be stimulating enough for you. Just a silicone or glass. They make like safe glass, like Pyrex safe glass. It's not Pyrex, but it's essentially that.
Yeah.
They also make vibrating anal plugs or anal beads.
Yep.
Anal beads. Anal beads look like a long line and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Anal plugs are one size, but you can get bigger and bigger anal plugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now with anal plugs, you might put it in there and leave it alone. You might push it in and pull it out, and push it in and pull it out for some stimulation, depending on what works really well for you. Mm-hmm. If you are looking on how-to guides, this is not that podcast.
No.
there are better places to learn how to use those things. Apparently, Dipsy has one. I know Bellesa has one for all of their toys. And other, if you're into more kink, you can go to Princess Rara, Pink Kink Podcast.
Yes.
There are lots of resources for you. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your sex toy. I'm just giving you all the options. If you're like, this is how you masturbate, right? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I hit that. Sorry.
That's okay. Anal beads are a long string of circles attached with like it looks like a beaded bracelet. So beads attached with little silicone string, quote unquote, that get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can insert as many as you want. And then some people like to have them pulled out during orgasm. They think it feels really good, or just left alone. They like the feeling of fullness. So lots of options for you. You can also use a dildo in your asshole. So dildos come in so many shapes and sizes.
So many.
So many shapes and sizes.
Like
And
at least at my local sex shop, they have like a specific area for dildos. Like it's huge. Like if you doubt that there's a selection, y'all, there is a selection for everybody. Like
if you've only seen a dildo in pornography, that is not what most dildos look like.
No. Nope.
Let's also talk about that. That is not what most dildos look like. Let's not size shame anyone. Your vagina is not too small. Your penis is not too small. Your vagina is not too big. Your penis is not too big. It might be too big for some people, but like, oh, fucking A. I read this book and it was literally like, his penis is 12 inches and like massive. I'm like, ah!
That sounds so painful.
I'm gonna go back to the quote. I'm sorry, this quote is not about a forearm, so you know what, I'm gonna ruin this bitch for you. What is it? It's like the size of a forearm or some shit.
What?
Hold on.
Like, I'm gonna do the visual thing. Look at my forearm. Having something that size in me doesn't sound very comfortable at all.
Quote, his dick's got to be as long as the girl's forearm.
What? I know. No. Oh, no. I read a fan fiction once where they described the guy's penis as thick as a beer can. I was like, what? No.
Well, the book I just read that has sex through underwear.
Through clothes.
Through cloth. This is really the sound of this episode. No, it's not, because the episode itself was great. But he said 6 inches of girth. And I was very confused for a moment. Because I'm like, okay, great. Number one, that's not actually a measurement. Girth is, you can't measure girth. And then I'm like, are you talking about diameter? Because that's not possible. But 6 inches around, like circumference, it's only like 2 and a bit inches. So fairly reasonable. But like, do you know how long it took me from reading 6-inch girth to what the fuck to okay, I mean, like a little on the wide side, but nothing crazy.
But they put the 6 because it makes it sound bigger.
It doesn't. 6-inch girth. And also you can't put circumference. Like, what guy's gonna want to hear like the circumference of my penis? God.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there was so much about that book where I'm like, I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it. There's another one and people are obsessed with it. I'm like, I think I might skip it.
No.
You can skip it. You can skip this book. Like,
yes.
This is going to be a no. Just you wait for Tuesday. This is going to be a no.
Oh, man.
Okay. Now that we're on the topic of dildos, there are multiple kinds of dildos. There are dildos by themselves, and then there are dildos that have accoutrement. I'm going to talk specifically about dildos. And as we said, there are many different sizes, many different types, made of many different materials. You can use a dildo in your ass. You can use a dildo in your vagina. Never put a dildo that has been in your ass in your vagina without cleaning the ever-loving shit off of it.
Literally.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not out of it, off of it.
Exactly.
The only exception I will say is if you have a condom on your dildo for your ass and then you switch out condoms for your vagina.
Yeah.
It's only
Yeah.
kind of acceptable. And even so, I'm like, it's a little sketch monster. I would say keep
Yeah.
them separate. Like, keep it kosher. One for the booty, one for the vag.
I think that should be the tagline for this episode. One for the booty, one for the vag.
All right, now that we've established dildos, and dildos have lots of different shapes. So there are ones that are straight, there are ones that are slightly curved, there are ones that are incredibly dramatic in their shape. But the most common,
Yes.
or if you're looking for the most realistic in terms of a phallus, is going to be either straight or slightly curved.
Yeah.
Slight curve, not a right hook, but a slight curve. Also, a slight curve can allow you to use a dildo to stimulate things like a prostate if you have one, or a G-spot if you have one.
Yeah.
Can we also just take a moment to acknowledge that not all women have G-spots?
Yeah.
Not all women have G-spots, so there's no shame if you spend hours and hours and hours up in there looking for it and it's not there. Some women also have what's called a C-spot. Have you heard of this? C-spot?
Vaguely.
It's
Vaguely.
it's when you have cervical stimulation, so it's pretty
Right.
deep, and that
Yeah.
causes a different type of orgasm.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I've heard
Yeah.
that
I
called
do
the
recall
C-spot.
hearing about this. Yeah.
So
Okay.
G-spot or C-spot, depending on if you have that, if you like that. Some people don't like their cervix touched during
Mm-mm.
any sort of penetration. It doesn't feel good. It hurts.
Yeah.
And that is also okay. Some people have very different experiences with their stimulation, depending on what's going on in their body. It could be hormonally, what time of the month is it? It could be they have some sort of condition like PCOS or endometriosis that causes the
Mm-hmm.
experience of their nether regions to be drastically different depending on what's happening. And
Yeah.
that is okay. You can have lots of different toys to stimulate you in lots of different ways because your bodies are different every single day. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you want some good old fashioned penetration. Sometimes you want a vibrator on your clit. Sometimes you want other things that we will talk about. So, dildos, we're going from the most basic to the most extreme. Dildos can be just a wonderful, wonderful phallus. They can also vibrate by
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Some people like vibrating inside of them. And then you're going to get dildos with attachments.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two ways these attachments can go. There are dildos who have attachments for the booty. So they might have a dildo and then a smaller one that's a little more curved, or one that has like a more like anal beads on it. And one is designed to go into your vagina, and one is designed to go into your rectum. And then they might also have a stimulator for your clit. So if you've heard of the rabbit is
Mm-hmm.
probably the most common
Yeah.
accoutrement dildo. So it's a
Yeah.
vibrating dildo that has an attachment that curves up and around for your clit.
Yeah.
And they come in many shapes. Doesn't have to have a rabbit. It doesn't have to be rabbit ears. Just
No.
any sort of stimulation. But and I have seen some crazy ass dildos with
Right.
like some vibrate, some twist at the end, some have a
Uh-huh.
thruster at the end of it, some have like a harder vibration on one side for the G spot. It's crazy, y'all. If you are thinking there is no toy that can stimulate me the way that I need to be stimulated, I call bullshit. You just haven't looked hard enough. And maybe you shopped around 10 years ago. And yes, 10 years ago, the pickings were not slim. Let's not go there, but
No.
slimmer. They were
Yeah.
slimmer. I remember the first time I ever heard about like a licking toy.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
years ago the like pinwheel licking toy, and I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is that? They are
Yeah.
everywhere. They are
Yeah.
everywhere. And it is one
Yep.
of my favorite toys. One of my favorite toys that I own. I bought one. I fucking love it. It's one of my faves. But they now also make dildos with different ways to stimulate your clit. So it's not just a vibrating thing. So now I'm going to move to things that are built to primarily stimulate your clit, but you can use them anywhere. Like we said, you can use a vibrator on your nipples or your neck or something. Like if you've got like
Yeah.
another like pseudo erogenous zone that likes that stimulation, you can use them anywhere. You can absolutely you can like use your dildo to stimulate you. Who the fuck cares? It's not your own hand. So the three main types of stimulation that I have seen from toys, and Sephi, if you know of a different one, please let me know,
Mhm.
are vibration, suction, or licking. The licking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
much
pretty
what I
much.
see.
Yeah.
So
Same.
and they're different and they feel different, and you might like one more than the other. And also know that just because what if you buy a cheap toy, you might get a cheap result. I'm not saying you have to spend
Yeah.
lots and lots and lots of money on these toys,
Right.
but
Right.
do take with a grain of salt that if you buy a cheap toy, you might get a cheap result. So
Exactly.
vibrators are probably the thing that you'll see the most of. They have been around the longest, they are the most prevalent, and they get the job done.
Yeah.
And there are vibrators in lots of different shapes. And you can find vibrators that are just a vibrator on their own. You can find vibrators that are part of some other thing, like they have a dildo attachment.
Hmm.
Some are made for external and internal. So there are some that have a curve to them. So if you wanted to, you could put them up and in you like a G spot. They're not dildos. They're not necessarily meant to be thrust. It's a vibrator for your G spot, but you could also use it for external stimulation.
Yeah.
Most likely, the two that you'll have heard of are a wand. Many people in media have mentioned the Hitachi wand, and
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is very prevalent. I do not own one. I am afraid of them. They're
I don't own
massive,
one either. They are huge, and
massive.
I've heard that they are incredibly intense if you're not used to it. So I'm like, when I first started buying toys, I growing up in a very conservative household, I had to use outside sources like a couple of really good friends, and I had asked them about the wand, and they were like, don't start there. Don't start there. And I've been kind of terrified of them ever since.
Some of them plug into the wall. They're not battery powered. They plug into the wall.
Plug into the wall. Yeah.
That scares me. But
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong if you use them. They are people. I read
Yeah.
a great scene in The Holiday Trap that uses them. That uses one, not them, not multiple, but uses Hitachi one. And I was like, that's fucking
Yeah.
hot. Um,
Yeah.
and then probably some sort of a bullet
Yeah.
vibrator. And a bullet
Yeah.
vibrator. So if Hitachi is, or Magic Wand is the large end, bullet is the small end. It is a discreet
Yeah.
personal pleasuring device, and they can be battery operated, they can be rechargeable, but something very small that has not necessarily a small vibration because technology has improved, but
Yeah.
is physically small and usually pretty basic in terms
Mhm.
of what it looks like and any other things it can do.
Yeah.
Your vibrators might have different patterns or settings or speeds depending on what you're buying. I feel like patterns were the cool thing for
A while.
a
Yeah.
while, and now I'm noticing fewer and fewer new toys with patterns. They'll
Yeah.
change up the speed or intensity of the vibration, but not
Yeah.
give you a pattern. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying yay or nay to either. I'm just
Yeah.
noticing
Yeah.
what's going on with that.
Yeah, I think I just had to replace my bullet vibrator. I know, but it's a massive difference from the one I had before, where the other one I had, like, I mean, it still cycles through probably about 10 settings or whatever,
Yeah.
but the other one had 10 settings of like different
Pattern.
ways it would different
Yeah.
patterns. This one is more cycling through intensities,
Yeah.
which I find really interesting.
It's very interesting. And there are vibrators that have different shapes. The one that it just makes me laugh every time is the ones that look like a Millennium Falcon. So they've got like two little prongs.
Yeah.
They've got two
Yes.
little prongs that can go on either side of your clit and vibrate. It
Yeah.
just makes me laugh every single time. But that one is super fun looking. There are ones that will have different textures to the ends of theirs, or even have replaceable heads for them. So you can use the same
Yeah.
base of the vibrator, but get a different feeling each time. Right now, we're talking about vibrators that you use with yourself. If you are thinking about, I want to incorporate a vibrator that I can use with my partner while I'm getting penetration and we like this position, you might have to think about size or shape in a different way. But when it's just you, friend, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, it doesn't matter. Make it as
No.
big or small as you want. The next one, I feel like the licking was the one that I saw next.
Yeah,
At first,
I think
it
so.
was literally a pinwheel, I think. The first one
Yeah.
that came out was a pinwheel and it just cycled around and around and around, but there was an
Yeah.
opening. I remember
Yeah.
looking at that going, no,
Nope.
no. And now they're very different. Or
Yeah.
you can
They
find
look
very different ones.
there's some of them that almost look like an actual mouth with a tongue out.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
I I don't know if it's like a tongue or if it's just a little thing that can go in lots of different ways. And that is the toy that I have that has the most patterns versus
Right.
just intensity and speed,
Which would
because
make sense because it's
yeah,
mimicking a tongue. Yeah.
mimicking a tongue. So if you're someone who really likes oral sex and your fantasies and your reading, you're gonna read oral sex. If you're going back to that mental image, if you want to recreate what you're physically like to physically feel what you're reading about, and you love reading some oral sex scenes, you might need a toy that mimics a tongue.
Yeah.
Or you might want a toy that mimics suction. That is the one that
Yeah.
I'm seeing more and more of now. And the way that these
Yeah.
toys seem to work is seem to work. I have one, but I'm not going to speak for all toys. There is a whole, why am I using my hand?
You guys, this is the best. It's the best. Everybody, this is the best.
I was like, today we're definitely not going to use any of the footage, the video footage. So I look like an absolute schlub, y'all. I've been moving furniture all day. Like, you will never see this. Maybe I'll save it. Maybe I'll save it for the membership. But
Ooh.
I know. So there is a hole at the end of, not a hole, but like a circle with an indent, and whatever mechanism they're using, if you put the hole against your body, it will pull in and release
Yeah.
the whatever's in it. So this is another one that people love to use on other parts of their body, their neck, their nipples, things that like stimulation outside of just a clit. The other thing, so now that we've talked about like your mental space, you're going to use a romance novel, you're going to think about it, you're going to like take some time with your body, you're going to take some time with your environment, you're going to find the toy that works for you, you're going to experiment, you're going to have fun, you're not going to judge your body for toys that work or toys that don't. There's a toy that I bought and it is a licking toy and I thought it was going to be amazing. I swear to you, it does not work with my clit is shaped wrong. It can't touch, it can't reach it. And as much as I love it, every time I'm like, and like, that's just not the toy for me. There's nothing wrong with that toy.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with my body. That toy just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So when you found the toy that when you understand what it is that you want to stimulate to get you where you're going to go, you are going to enjoy the fuck out of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the fuck out of yourself. And if you are someone who can only orgasm once, if you're a one and done orgasm, enjoy the fucking orgasm. Enjoy it. Give
Absolutely.
yourself all that
Absolutely.
time. Like, enjoy the afterglow. Sit in those good gushy feelings. Maybe you continue to touch your body. Maybe you continue to stimulate in other ways. If you're someone who has multiple orgasms, maybe you use the exact same way to orgasm multiple times. Maybe you switch it up. And that is incredible. Be done when you're done. There's no, just be, and also know that if you are trying to recreate a scene that has multiple orgasms, but you're a one and done person, that's fine. Don't feel like you're
Yeah.
a terrible human or your vagina is broken, your clit is broken, or whatever it is, because you are one.
No.
That is a-okay, friend.
Absolutely.
And when all
It's
is said and done, yeah.
multiple orgasms are not necessarily the norm. Like that's not a thing that happens a lot in real life. It does happen, and it can happen to you if you are able to figure out a way to do it. But just because you read it and it doesn't happen to you, it's not wrong. You're not wrong. Nothing like that.
Remember, this is the fantasy. Romance novels, for as much as they're getting more realistic now, are still a fantasy. And I'm not going to lie,
Yes.
it sounds amazing to be able to have like 3 orgasms in a session. That sounds fantastic. Just,
Yeah.
I don't believe that it could happen from penetration alone, but like, sure, maybe one from, like, not even. It's not going to happen. I want to see someone put in some effort. But whenever it is that you're done, appreciate the time that you took for this and appreciate the romance novel. Just because you used a romance novel that you read and enjoyed as a whole story as fodder for your spank bank doesn't change your relationship with the book. It doesn't change the book from
No.
something that you read and something incredibly well written that we should be celebrating to something sinful or
No.
smutty or anything weird like that. It is just as it was before, and you're engaging with
Yeah.
this media in a different way.
If anything, it just continues to reinforce the fact that it's well written because you're using it as something to help your mental state when you're trying to masturbate. Because obviously, if it's not well written, it's not going to help you get into the state of mind that you need to be in to get you to that point.
Do you know how many books that I have read that I'm never going back to as a spank bank? Do you know?
So many.
So many,
So
including
many.
one that fucks you through your underwear. Oh.
Oh, so wrong.
Just it is so wrong. It's so wrong. So wrong on so many levels. But
So many.
so if you got to the end of this episode, thank you for joining us. I hope that you found this fun. You know what? I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun
I had a lot
springing
of
those
fun.
things today.
Yeah.
And leave in the comments either at jcreadsromance.com, or if you want to put them into, leave them in the comments at jcreadsromance.com. You can find the link in the show notes, or you can send me an email, jace@jcreadsromance.com, what your favorite spank bank scenes are, because I want to know. And it might be the one scene from a book. It might be an entire book. And you're like, every 5 pages, there's a sex scene. So just open the book. Any random page will do. But I'm curious, like, what are the scenes that have sat with you in a way that makes you go back to them when you are looking to connect with your body in a sensual manner?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I hope y'all had fun. So thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for today, y'all. This has been a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Our producer is Seffi. Michael Achenbach is our patient editor. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. You can find show notes and so much more at jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Jace Reads Romance. If you'd like to ask a question or share a story for the podcast, call and leave a message at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Or send an email to jace@jacereadsromance.com. Finally, like and subscribe so you can get every episode when they drop. You can also leave us a review to help others find us. And remember, this is Jace holding space for you.